Welcome to the Woman Magic Podcast. I am so thrilled and excited to have my first guest ever today, which is Giulia Viti. And her Instagram handle, so that you guys are aware, is called at the Crazy Plant, right? So I brought her on today because she's actually going to be talking about a topic that I really appreciate because of the fact that I've personally been called this word, and we're going to get into it. But this is basically on the idea of someone calling you weird and weirdness. And we're going to really get into what that means. But first, Giulia, I just want to ask you if you don't mind introducing yourself and letting us know how you got started on the Crazy Plant.
Hi, thank you for having me. I am so excited. Well, I'm an identity coach, and that is why I got so interested in the meaning of this word, and I'll explain you why. And identity coaching is that thing that you go and do when you become aware that you haven't lived your purpose, and you become aware that you're not sure who you are and what are you doing on the planet Earth, and you want to find out, and you go and you come to me. I work with young adults because, to be honest, when I was a young adult, nobody was explaining me stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important that they start in the best way possible, because they are the leaders of the future. I myself, I'm a pretty weird person, so you can see that you think the appearance already says something, but you're gonna find out. You already know it, but they are gonna find out.
So I actually first want to highlight the fact that you are in Italy, and do you coach people like literally all over the world? Like, I feel like you will coach literally any young adult from anywhere, and I find that to be like pretty cool. Because I just want to make you guys laugh. Me and Julia were talking the other day, and I had an American moment where I was like, "Wait, do you speak Italian all the time with your family?" Because she speaks English like 90% of her time, I guess, right? Because like on her Instagram, like with me, so she's multilingual. Like she's a bad bitch. So like the fact that you do this work and that you're willing to do it with anyone is really cool for me. So I would like to talk to you about this idea of weirdness. So where did weirdness first start for you? And how did you handle it during that period of time?
Well, I don't think weirdness started as much as was always there,
Mm-hmm.
but for a big part of my life, I saw it as a compliment. Like in my circle of friends, we would say, "You're weird," and the other person would say, "Thank you," because it was a way of differentiating ourselves and highlight the fact that we did what we wanted to do when we weren't conforming and all that. And then I went out in the world, outside of my little village here in Tuscany, and I found out that weird was used as a bad word, if bad would even exist, or at least as an insult.
Mm-hmm.
And that was interesting for me, because I thought, well, weird is what we are supposed to be, quote unquote, because if we are not weird, then we are what? If we are all the same, are we normal? And who decides what normal is? So these things that at least the major part of young adults have taught, and I was about 18, so I was around that age. And I have kept seeing it as a compliment for myself. And if I say to someone that they're weird, I make sure that they know that I mean it as a compliment.
Mm.
But a few weeks ago, a friend of mine sent me this long text about the word weird and its original meaning. And that's where things get interesting, because it was originally meant as something having the power to control fate.
Mm.
And as an adjective, it was used for people who were particularly in contact with spirit and with, with the ability to be in contact with different parts of themselves that were outside of the norm, still, quote unquote. And then the closer we got to the further away we got from pagan culture, let's say, I don't want to point fingers because this is not the point. It became progressively worse as a meaning. And in Macbeth, the weird sister of three fates, the ones with the wire, the one has the wire, the other one tends it, and the other one cuts it for human life, they were described as odd and frightening in appearance. And the period where Macbeth was written was a little bit in between those two eras, and it got progressively worse until it became an insult. And I have been in this rabbit hole of understanding this, and yeah, so that's mostly what I wanted to talk about today.
Thank you. So just kind of backtracking on so you were talking about the three witches, right? And for those who have not ever heard about this, I would say a story, right? You said, was it part of Macbeth? You said.
No, those are three goddesses, and they are in different cultures. I think Macbeth was referring to the Norse. I'm not sure, but anyway, those are the three goddesses of fate. The ones in the Disney movie Hercules. The three ugly ones. Those are actually
Yes.
for real.
Oh yes! Oh my gosh! Yes. Okay, so just to kind of like give everybody this imagery, for those of you who might not be remembering Hercules that well, or maybe it's been a while, or maybe you didn't even notice that scene. There was that scene of Hercules where there were three women that were goddesses. They were like Greek goddesses, and they took a strand. They were taking Meg's hair as she was going into the underworld, and they were cutting. They took her hair, and the last woman cut her hair to signify the fact that she was dead. But there's a deeper meaning in those three old-looking, deteriorated like women, like in the movie. So, do you mind kind of diving into that a little bit?
Yeah, of course. Don't quote me on history because I've been doing my own research, and so I might be wrong in any part of that. But what I noticed is that those, like, the reason why they're important in this is that they are the goddesses of faith, of fate. Sorry, fate. My English went away for a second. And backtracking the word, the people who were called weird were the ones who basically had a little peek into what could be. So the goddesses themselves are not fundamental in my research right now, but the thing is, those who could have a sneak peek in what could be, and they were not like, I imagine they were not like the gurus that we have today, that they do your card and they know exactly when you're going to no. But we all know that there are people that have an insight and that can kind of go between the worlds and have, through their intuitions, they can have an outlook, they have glimpses. And those people were highly rewarded because they were important. In a community, it was important for people to be able to connect with a part of themselves, and not everyone was equally able. Like, not everyone was equally able to hunt and all that. It was a role, and it was respected as a role in a community. And we see that it began to be dangerous when we had authorities that wanted to control who could be in touch with the spirit, with the sacred, and who couldn't. And that happened all over the world, and close to the same time. And then progressively, those people were not allowed anymore to be and they didn't want to be the messengers of other words necessarily. They were just using their intuition to help the community. And then it progressively disappeared. And now, if you can do that, you're weird, you're a freak, or a crook.
Okay, yeah, so I'm glad that you brought all of these things up because, ooh, juicy. The real reason why I'm like really excited about that is, for the longest time, I was called weird. I was like the weirdo. I'm the weirdo of my family. Like, I am just the oddball out. And even as a kid, I was in a bunch of schools where I looked different. And they kind of like took advantage of that. So I was like this chubby, redheaded, little girl, and I would get called all these different names, but the one that would always stick and would just like reverberate amongst the school hallways was weird. Like, oh my God, you're so weird. Like, why are you so weird? Like, I've been called like weird with like goody two shoes, weird with like definitely just negative connotations, negative words. Like, it's never been a positive experience. So when you brought up the fact that you wanted to talk about weirdness, I was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. But now you're bringing in the whole spirituality aspect of it. And recently I had a conversation where I was expressing how difficult it is to be like a weird person in society, and how difficult it is to not feel that sense of belongingness. Like, and the fact that so many of us who are called weird, who don't take it positively, like we feel like we are not worthy or that there's something wrong with us. So it's very interesting that you've had this really awesome kind of upbringing in regards to your friends taking that as a compliment. So how do you think someone who views the term weirdness as like a hoax or whatever, like how do you think they can kind of appreciate the term and make it positive as how you say it?
Well, it all boils down to who you want to be. So if you're being someone that you don't want to be for different reasons, then look into that. But if you're being who you want to be, or at the very least you're working towards being the person that you would like to be, then the only meaning of weird is unique. And it's easy to be antagonized when we're doing the work, the self-growth work. It's easy to be antagonized by people that are not doing it. And they often don't mean to hurt us, and that's why they're often the people closest to us. It's just an instinctive reaction, because in the back of their minds it goes, if she changes, then I could have changed too, or if she changes, she's not going to be the same with me anymore. They're not thinking that consciously, but that's going on for them, and they do things to stop you from doing what you're doing. So as long as you're coherent with your self-work, that is the only important thing. And as long as you're speaking your truth, you will find your tribe. You will find the people that understand you. And the rest of the people is not your tribe. It's simple, but it's not easy, because nobody likes losing people. But that's just how it works if you want to live your truth fully.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I also would like to add on top of that in regards to being different, I've realized through my own work and the fact that I viewed it negatively to kind of like attach, like to kind of go in the middle of this. I've realized that being different from like society, there we go, is honestly one of the most precious gifts that we could be given, because I don't want to blend in. And I don't think that anyone who has been called weird even wants to blend in. But because of the fact that society kind of teaches us at a young age, and innately, we also feel this need of belonging, our egos, our bodies just kind of filter in and filter out what is okay and not okay, right? So even though you're naturally doing things that make you feel good, right, and they're considered weird to the next person, sometimes your body might also like disassociate, your ego might disassociate from them because society has told you that they're weird. And at the end of the day, you're doing everything that you need to be your true self, so being weird is actually like a privilege. It's a privilege to be weird. Now if you think about weirdness in the sense of like women specifically, like what would you say that women struggle with 100%, or like maybe they struggle with a lot in regards to being called weird?
Before I answer to that, I just wanted to add a little thing to what you were saying, and is that all the things that we consider normal and we thought we couldn't stop from doing because this, because that, pandemic, boom, they're gone. So I think this is very useful to think when you want to do something that doesn't seem to align with what you're taught with society, but you have a strong intuition that is right for you. Think that things change and you don't know how and you don't know when. So might as well be doing your thing. Because the people who were forced now, for example, to get a 9-to-5 job because they thought, no, I cannot follow my intuition and do something else, they may be out of a job now and they may be kicking themselves, because if they were working for themselves, they would still be working. Just an example, and I don't want to shame anyone, but just saying, things change and you don't know how, you don't know when, so might as well be doing your thing.
1,000% true, girl. 1,000% true.
Now, women, we have more access to our intuition because we have hormonal fluctuation that make our brain a lot more flexible. And not to say that men do not have access to intuition. They absolutely do. But we are facilitated like physically in that. And that often takes us to feel things before they happen, or to sense that something is wrong. And maybe when we sense something, the person that we have in front of us didn't even realize that something was going on. And so we bring it up, and we get called weird because this didn't occur to anyone yet.
Mm.
Or there is another part of this where we are more conditioned by expectations in society to be a certain way because history went terribly wrong there multiple times. And so we are more prone to not to want to be weird because we don't want to add more at the disadvantages, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, but it's something that could actually take us so much further to accept these gifts that we have as women, and especially intuition, to fully embrace it and to realize what a great gift it is. Even outside of spirituality, like we don't all need to go do cards and things. Just live as women entails a lot of cool things that a lot of us are not aware or fully aware of, and that's a damn shame.
Girl, it is such a shame because you know what? Like, I've realized through like my own journey that like we we're doing so much that does not serve us, like so much. My God, like I feel like as I shed each layer, I'm like, why the heck did I do that? Like, girl, what? Like, and part of it was definitely like my shame for being such a weird person, you know, because like I don't know, I can't even really explain it to you. Like, I don't. Looking back on it, like I wasn't even really doing anything that was like that crazy. You know, like I enjoyed musical theater and I enjoyed like, you know, I played soccer. I had like infatuations of like random celebrities like we all had. Like I didn't do anything that was like so insane, you know, like I read books. I don't really know, like, you know, I'm trying to like go into like myself and like I really didn't do anything that bizarre.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the way I talk to people, which was like in like the most kindness or like the things that I would say. Um, but the thing actually to make you laugh is the thing that brought the most attention to me was when I connected with the 1940s era, and I was like very infatuated with I Love Lucy, Lucille Ball, and I was like, you know, 11 years old. So I wanted to like put my hair like her and like just very like, you know, like I wanted to be her. So a lot of and my cat's like, I want to join. And a lot of my classmates, you know, like I was in a Catholic school at the time, mostly all white kids, you know, and they just ripped at me, ripped at me. It was insane. Like, you know, they were like, this is weird. The fact that you want to make a I Love Lucy collage is weird, even though we have a project where we're making a collage of something that we admire. Um, you know, like I dressed up as Lucy for Halloween that year. Like I just was really feeling how funky and free and like just so different she was, you know, and like I actually really appreciate her to the fullest because Lucille Ball is like the epitome of weird. Like she's such a weird lady and I love all of it, you know, like between her eyes and how big her eyes get or, you know, like just her acting like it wasn't traditional acting, you know, like she was very like just silly. Like it wasn't she was never sad. Like she would always like fake cry and it was just great, you know? So and I connected with that era so much because like yes, we have to take certain things very seriously, but other things like, you know, other certain situations like she would just make it would be fun. You know, the things that they did, it was fun, you know?
Yeah.
So I just admired that and I admire her specifically. Um, so I don't know if for the women out there that kind of feel like ostracized, probably alienated, like all these different things by the people that they love, like maybe it could be a role model that makes you feel better, for being your most authentic, weird self, because being weird, as Julia's saying, is not a bad thing. Like it's truly not, and it's welcomed here. We welcome it. Um like it's honestly an honor, and it's an honor to have you here if you're listening. Um, because trust me, personally, I know how hard it is to work through being like that alone feeling when you're called weird all the time. So I appreciate you being here looking for some guidance. Um, but I just want you to know that, girl, you're welcome here. We love you.
You do.
um, so it's so cool that we both have two different perspectives of this word. So when you're doing identity coaching, what is it? This is so funny that my cat's like really trying to get inside here. Do you hear him? It's like,
Yeah.
please let me in. Please let me in. So I can't. So in your identity coaching, if you were to take someone who has the okay, if you were to take somebody who has the teaching that weirdness is a bad thing, right? And she's looking for advice from you, and she's like really wanting to actually embody herself. How would you approach it? Obviously, it's very difficult to like say exactly what you would do because everybody's story is different. Um, but what suggestions would you have? How would you kind of approach it? I'll leave it open so that
Mm.
it's not so specific.
Yeah. Well, the people that come to me, they almost all of them have this fear because they don't like the reality around them,
Hmm.
and they're there to make a choice. I even get into this reality, or I figure out a way that I can do differently. So what I do is I get very clear with them on who they are.
Hmm.
And when this happens, when they first start to taste how it is, when the reality around you mirrors something that is truly you, they don't care who calls them weird, because it's so good. And literally, if you, I know you have done this switch, and I have to have the reality around you confirm that you are not broken,
Hmm.
and you are not wrong, and you are just, taking an approach that wasn't working for you. It's fine. Like, you wouldn't shame a baby because it can't walk yet. And a lot of people can't do themselves yet. And it's not a shame, it's not something, like, it can be done. You
Hmm.
just need to start working on it. And the first thing to do, even without going to a coach, is to actually ask yourself, what is it that you want, without worrying about the how, without worrying about how will I get there, without worrying about why. Why do we want the things that we want? God knows. Doesn't matter. Ask yourself what you want. Ask yourself what you want from yourself. And and then look at it again, because a lot of the answers that you give are going to be related to things that society has taught you.
Mm.
Like, you're going to say, I want to be skinny, I want to be fashionable.
Hmm.
This is just to really simplify, but there are deeper things that need really examining. And can I give a personal example here so it's clear?
Of course.
um I grew up thinking that I was going to be a leader, because the way I was brought up was, you either are a leader or you are submitted. And I knew for damn sure that I wasn't going to be submitted to anyone. that was the wrong narrative though, because I shine as a guide. I shine as someone who influences other and not as someone who is going, a mile ahead. And I'm not a leader. I'm a healer. I'm a guide. You can define me the way that you want, but the important thing is that I know what I am good at doing, and I do that, and I don't try to be something that I am not.
Mm-hmm.
And even the way that I approach my community, it's always, I did this mistake, and I tell it to you so you don't do it. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you some options on how to do the thing, and then you can choose. So I'm not good at saying, you do that. Some people are great at it, and they should do it, but I am not.
Mm-hmm.
So it's also accepting that, you might not want the things that you think you want.
I am going to move for 1 second and grab my cat so that he can stop being crazy, because
he likes me.
He loves you. He loves to be involved in everything. He's literally been trying to open. Literally, I have the weirdest cat. He's the best cat in the world, but he's so weird. Like, again, weird. He loves to open the door knobs, and it's just the funniest. It's like, dude, like, what? Even you're a cat? Okay, cool. Hold on.
Oh, give me attention.
Give me attention. I love him. He's just a silly boy. So here's the thing. I've noticed that a lot of women don't want to look for help when they feel like it's like they're either numb to society, or they just are battling with this like depression within themselves. This is especially the case for women that have been, like, again, using like a really big word, which is ostracized, and just like treated like their emotions and their things that they want are wrong. So I kind of want to touch upon it between the both of us. So I guess for me, what I would say is, if you've been called weird, and it's something that literally like stabs you in the heart kind of feeling, because you've been like hurt so much, and people that you love have called you that, and like when I call my cat weird, for example, like I know it's not the equivalent to a human, but when I call my cat weird, like I don't think that he's the worst cat in the world. He's just a funky cat. Like if you got to know my cat, like he is like a person. Like you'd literally be like, is this your son or is this your cat? Because he is literally just so unique, and he has such a special place in my heart. So if I were to relate that to you and how your sisters actually feel about you, and this sisterhood that we have going on, um, we honestly find you to be so incredible, because the things that you have to say and the things that are so innate for you are like artwork to us, because your true self is like this glowy, awesome, sexy fire that we just want to let out, like we just want it to be free. We want it to be something that you're proud of. So I know that it feels like you're in this like dark cave of like not belonging, and I've been there. But I'm going to let you know right now, in order for you to survive in this cave, you need to have a fire, and that fire is you know so I'd like for you, Giulia, to kind of touch upon it and kind of talk to women that are struggling with that.
Yeah, and that is incredibly important, because I know this is mainstream to say, but it's very, very, it's fundamental. Nobody is bringing to the world what you're keeping for yourself. There's literally no one like you. And so you see how it becomes very, very important that you shine. And what I would say is remember that you don't have to do the entire work at once. If you begin to accept the path, not even accept yourself if you're not ready. I wish you were, but if you're not, just accept the path. Accept that there is a way out. Accept that your reality is literally created by you. I know this sounds incredibly unlikely for a lot of you. Like, no, I have not created this shit. You have. And the way that you have is because you have beliefs, you have things and opinions and thoughts about life that you don't question because you think they are reality, but they're not. And if you accept this simple concept and you start questioning the things that you thought you couldn't question ever, then you start seeing bits and pieces, and the path can be long, but it doesn't have to be super long. It doesn't have to be a struggle. It doesn't have to be always painful. There are fantastic moments if you just accept that you have the power to change things.
Amen, sister. Amen, 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 amen. Amen. Oh my gosh, amen. That makes me feel so grateful. I really appreciate you saying all of this. Like, I appreciate literally like all of your words. I know that there are probably women listening right now and feeling like, hell yeah. Like, I mean, or at least I hope so, because like, truthfully, like, I don't know, like, I know it's difficult to, I know it's difficult to accept yourself, like, when you're told all these things. I know it's difficult to even like want to take a step out of said cave that I was referring to before. Like, I know it's hard. I know it's like, what Julia was saying about you creating your own reality, like it kind of feels like, wait a minute, how am I creating my own reality? Like I didn't make this person say this to me. Of course you didn't. But who are you surrounding yourself with? You know what I mean? Like I've realized it in the most insane ways. Like who you surround yourself with has a huge impact on how you view yourself. That is huge. I had friends for years, and society makes it seem like you have to have like lifelong friends and whatever. Like your lifelong friends from when you were a kid to now, that's cool, they were your friends, but like you could have legitimate lifelong friends who are amazing and literally want to be there for you, help you grow, all this other stuff, not Becky who lived next door to you treats you like crap and steps all over you. Like I'm just giving you guys an example. Like I had a friend for many years, and the dynamic between the both of us was so toxic because I am myself. I've She's even called me names. She like we grew up together. And the thing with her was like I didn't see myself or who she truly was until just like a literally a random night. Like I had a random epiphany of all of the crap that I endured, the fact that we were two totally different people, and I was hanging on to it for what? You know what I mean? Like I was hanging on to the friendship for what? To be accepted by one person who doesn't vibe with me at all, who doesn't help lift me up and vice versa. Like I just kind of felt like I was a free therapist, and like you don't have to deal with that, you know? A lot of us are comfortable in this comfort zone of like past friends, and it's like why? Like being in this space, what we're both referring to, like if I were to take that imagery back of you in this cave and you're this immaculate fire, you're surrounding yourself with someone who's literally taking a bucket and trying to take you out, put you out. Your light is too bright. Like, that's exactly what's happening when you surround yourself with people that don't appreciate you and don't are not on the same playing field as you. And it's okay to say that, because I personally, like, I've felt guilty, and I know, Julia, like, you probably have felt this too, like, kind of saying to a person, like, yeah, you're not worth my time. Like, it feels very weird at first, and weird I will use in that sense. It feels very weird at first because it's like, who am I to say that you're not worth me? Who am I to say that you're not worth my time? Well, here's the thing. You've always known your worth. Like, innately, instinctively, like, you know. There's no way we would be put on this earth and they're like, yeah, go find your worth. It was put in us and people ripped it out, you know. You know what you're worth. You know the things that you deserve. Um, and in this place where you're at, with these people who don't help you grow, um, that's your choice. You're choosing to stay in this place, and the fact is that you don't need to. You don't need to stay. You can make other things work. You know what I mean? Like, I've met incredible women who hid in a shell of a marriage that they hated, and now they're free. You know what I mean? Like, I know people who have had those toxic friendships 20 plus years, grew up together, had kids, like, all this stuff, kids played, and the person realized that they never really vibed. And that's okay, you know. So I know that I've been like la, 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 but I wanted to make sure that I said this because, personally, this has been my struggle, this weirdness thing. So I had to, like, make sure that I said to, like, people who actually want to find your true self, or actually finally look in the mirror and see that you're lit. um it starts with everything that I've shared with you and everything that Julia shared with you. We are responsible for our lives, and we are responsible for the choices that we make.
You made such a perfect example of one thing that we don't question: kindness, helping others. Who would want to question? Like, for me, I was thinking being kind is actually a sure, mm, a sure good thing that I have, right? So why would I go and question that? While in reality, part was kindness and part was me trying to please everyone. And it's not like if you say to someone that they can have your time, you're not saying anything bad about them. You're not saying that they're not worth it.
Hmm.
You're saying that you are not available for it.
Hmm.
It's very different, because, and that is where weird comes up, because it sounds weird that you would stop doing something that made you look so good and made you look so rightful, to go and follow your path, your truth.
Hmm.
But actually, it's the only thing that's going to get you forward, because if you stay in the patterns, then you're going to keep your reality is going to keep mirroring that,
Hmm.
for sure. And so of course it's weird.
Hmm.
it's it's a good kind of weird. you know and you, this way, not only you help yourself, but you can give, oh goodness, oh. You can give other people permission to do the same, because they look at you and they're like, oh, she has done that, and no lightning struck her.
Hmm.
So, you know, maybe I can do it too. And I really make a point of being an advocate for that. Like, the ring that I'm wearing today is made of a goat vertebra, it's a bone, right? Every time someone says to me that it's weird, I smile so big and I say, yes, I know, it's cool, right? And I know some of them will think about this when they want to do something that they consider weird, but they want to do it. Or that's my hope anyway. But I know that it has happened in the past. That people tell me, you were so unafraid to do that thing that I actually thought, what the hell? And that's what I live for. Literally what I live for. Well, no, I live for myself, but it's my passion.
Wow. So literally like one of your messages is weird, but make it empowering. I like that. I really like that. Um, because damn, like the way that you say it, like instead like it's just like if somebody were to say a different word, like obviously I don't feel that way. But if someone's like, "Oh, that's ugly," but they're, because they're just being mean, you'd be like, "Wow, thank you. I know it's just really just so special." Like you literally just turning it around and being like, "Thank you for your negativity, but no thanks." Like I'm okay. And I love that because it just kind of for me like it holds on to the essence of what it means to be you. Like it's literally like the protection that you have for yourself and the force that you hold. Like it's so cool. Like it's literally like um thank you for the fact that you've shown me how you feel about yourself, but I'm actually really happy here. Thanks. Um
Yeah.
oh god, and I love that confidence. God.
There is no love created from hate and from resentment. But of course, if you're not solid in who you are, then every little thing is enough to shake you, to trigger you. And when you're triggered, that's something where you're not holding your power. That's something you're going to want to work on. But if this is for everything, if you constantly see happy couples and you get this, you want to look into what partnership is for you. If you have a partner, how do you feel about them? If you don't, how do you feel about wanting one? This is where it's easy and simple. Like trigger equals work to do.
It's true. It is very true. I really love what you said in regards to the fact that love can't be created from hate. And I actually kind of want to bring up the kind of parallel of like forgiveness, because a lot of people will need to do a lot of forgiveness work, and a lot of people will have to not get love, but like literally channel love, grow love in their space, especially when it comes to accepting yourself. So when I think about how one would forgive the things that have happened in their lives in order to move forward and like really live your life, um, as a sexual assault victim, like forgiveness has been hard for me. And the reason why it was hard was because it's like you, you want me to forgive that? And like so I would get so angry, like, what the heck are you talking about that you want me to forgive that? And I bring up a really intense topic like that because, I want for people to understand that like I'm not we're both not um dismissing a huge event that happened in your life, because many people are definitely going through, you like whatever it is, you name it, like everybody's going through something, everybody's trying to release something, and in order for you to really release it and be your most authentic, weird, mystical self, you're gonna have to let that go. And in order to let it go and be free and fly like a butterfly instead of it being a bane to your existence, um, it comes from a light place. So the forgiveness aspect of whatever it is that you've gone through, um, that is something that the reason why you have to do it is primarily for yourself. It is not for the other person, it is not for the other experience. And I wanted to make sure that I highlighted it because with what Giulia said, with the fact that love does not come from hate, you loathing and hating and resenting these times, they're not going to allow for you to accept anything inside of yourself. It's literally going to be the same kind of cage that you've been in. So we're trying to promote you wanting to be weird, loving being weird, and like pretty much learning a lifestyle for yourself that's similar to Julia's, where if someone were to make a horrible thing to her because they're unhappy with themselves, like we want you to have a magical cape on and be like, bitch, please, like I've had enough of you, and walk away. So I wanted to make sure that I highlighted that.
Thank you. I think that's incredibly important because forgiveness is a hard bitch. It's because some people have done things that are pretty bad, they've gone through. And I know it's not easy anyway. And I want to say that because, like, for example, I never went through something like physical abuse, but I went through emotional abuse. And I know that sometimes I felt like, no, I can't compare myself to someone who's been raped. Mm-hmm. But it's not about comparing, it's about accepting that you feel a certain way about it. Mm-hmm. It's not a race, of who's feeling worse. And it's so important what you said, because you are forgiving the person, not mm-hmm. the act. Mm-hmm. So a lot of us feel that, if I forgive them, then it's like I said, it's okay to do a certain thing. Mm-hmm. But the act is still what it is, and there need to be consequences. Like, people need to learn that if they do something to you, there are consequences, and that you decide the consequences that entails. But the person is someone who was acting with the tools that they had in the moment, with their traumas, with their upbringing, with their work not yet done. And so, as I was saying before, you don't blame a baby because it can't walk yet. Mm-hmm. Eat, he or she, sorry. And they are like that. They can't walk yet. They can't see what you see yet. Mm-hmm. And that is not something you can do anything about. And actually, seeing you being peaceful, it's something that could put them on the right way to change. Still hard as hell. I'm not saying anyone to just go forgive. I know I struggle with that so much. But at the end of the day, as you said, it's for yourself. It's not for anyone else.
I think it's cool that your perspective on it is a lot more, like, it's very individualistic, but it's also like, it also has to do with like the community aspect of humanity in a way, because what you're essentially doing is you're promoting the movement. You're promoting the fact that people can kind of move together in the same direction to heal themselves. And when one person heals, it's like the other one does. And it's kind of like a domino effect, but not, I wouldn't say it's as like, it's not as, because like when I think about like literally like dominoes falling, I think that it's like fast and abrupt and, like, I don't think it's that necessarily. I think it's more or less like we're all kind of like standing in like a majestic line or something like that. And as soon as the person reaches their healing or starts, it's like they put their hand on the next person's shoulder. And it's just like
Mm-hmm.
inspiration, that like energetic inspiration for the next person to change. Um, I mean, I've seen it in my family, or like just things that I've said like to my sister, like I've said to her, who's she's 12, and I'm like, I see the numbers, the angel numbers all the time, right? She knows nothing about angel numbers. She's 12. She has no idea. So I wanted to teach her, right? So I'm like, I see the numbers I see. I see 1111 all the time. I see 222, 111. Literally, I feel like I see every single like number. Like, besides, which is really funny. Well, obviously, because time, like, there's nothing past like like fives. Um, but I don't necessarily see 777, 888, 999. Like, I don't see that, but my sister actually sees 888, 999, 777. I was like, but it's funny because she only started seeing these numbers after my weirdness came in, big booty, and I was like, this is what I see, and big booty, I'm really more or less saying like, I'm here, you know,
Yeah.
um, I'm here. And that's like an endearing term, like big booty, because I got myself big booty. Um, and, and so, like me telling her about this, like kind of like unapologetically, like kind of made her start paying attention. And even though she's going to go through her own stuff, like she at least has that pocket of information, and maybe she'll start to evolve. Who knows? Um, it's just that beautiful image that you're painting for us, Julia, of pretty much just like I'm envisioning women, just because this is like what this podcast is like more directed towards, but people in general just kind of placing their hand on someone's shoulder, knowing that it's okay to be yourself, and to kind of feel like that nurturing that you could essentially provide for yourself. Um, it's okay to love yourself. It's okay to feel that you're worthy. Um, and it's even more okay when you finally accept yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I love that you brought up your little sister, because first of all, yay goddess, she's going to be so much further than we were at her age. Oh my god.
Gosh, I
And
hope so.
also, yeah, I think so. Um, this thing that you're saying, and it's true, it is the way that I envision it, that there is nobody that needs to save the world. We just need to look into ourselves and start being radically honest about our stuff, and then the world heals itself. And it's the big scale thing of what happens with parents. You can say to your children, for example, a stupid example, not to eat junk food until you're blue in the face. But if every time that you go back home, you have, I don't know, a burger in your hands, you throw away your fries packet or whatever, they learn from that.
Hmm.
They see you.
Hmm.
And so, on a bigger scale, especially with the people that I work with now in colleges, for example, they want to believe that it's achievable to live a life and be successful without being overwhelmed and burned out. But in their family, they see that their parents are maybe successful, but they are burned out, and that has been seen as the only way one gets money and gets what they want. So they have a hard time switching this. And by seeing it and trying it, then they feel allowed to even face their parents and to see, it's not that you're bad, you just didn't understand this, and I am understanding it, so I'm gonna do it in a different way.
Mm.
Yeah.
This was delicious. I love it all. Thank you.
I love
From
you.
I love you. I appreciate you for getting on the podcast, for being part of the first episode. I just genuinely appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. And it's so funny, y'all. We just met each other like what, a month ago, and we're like, I'm very sure that
Less.
less than a month ago, yes. And I look at her and I'm like, I was definitely related to her in a past life. We look alike, so I feel. She reminds me of my Italian heritage. I don't know what I remind you of. I try to just be me, and you can let me know what it is that I remind you of. Um, but I really appreciate you beginning this facilitation of women speaking and just really kind of speaking from their hearts and their souls. So thank you, Julia, and thank you for being here.
I am so honored, especially to be the first guest. Oh my god, it's so good. And with you, actually, it was essentially like, you're weird. You're weird too. I like you. You just,
That's
so
so true.
I feel that I've known you forever, and just you know,
It's true.
we've said an amount of weird and intimate things in these 2 or 3 weeks that we've known each other. That it's remarkable, honestly. So thank you for that as well.
No problem. No problem. The sisterhood is real, y'all. Like that's not a hoax. Like we're not joking with you. This is like a legitimate thing that we've both stumbled into.
Yeah.
So you guys are definitely gonna, like, when you really step into it and you start kind of finding your power, trust me, we'll show up in the craziest ways. Because the way that she showed up for me was I just did like a random live, and she hopped on my
Mm,
live, and that's when we started talking. So
yeah.
you know it happens in the most like awesome ways. I've seen women in such a different light recently, and my god, they're so beautiful. Like, geez, my god, I could gush and drool over y'all all day long. So thank you for being here, for listening to Women Magic, and thank you again. And if you want to follow Julia on Instagram, her handle is at the crazy play,
Yeah.
and you'll see her beautiful face. So thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you, Julia, and we'll talk. We'll talk probably right now.
Yeah, probably.
Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.